Thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am so excited to have my next guest. Bridget is here. We actually got connected. I believe it was through LinkedIn, and it's been a couple years.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we talked on the phone once, and now we're seeing each other in person. So I'm excited to have her here today. We just have some like-minded things that we connected on through LinkedIn. And so it is just an absolute pleasure to have her here with me today. But before we get into our interview, I want to give her the opportunity to introduce herself and let us know a little bit about her.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bridget Brown. I've been in Georgia about 25 years. I'm a retired former law enforcement officer, now turned teacher again, and I enjoy reading. I enjoy criminal justice. I enjoy sharing my knowledge with others, and so that's pretty
Love
much
that.
who I am.
Love that. So, I got to ask because, hey, we're talking about law enforcement and everything, just with the times that we're going through with so much controversy in the media. And, even though it's other things that have kind of overshadowed that topic right now,
Mhm.
what advice would you give us as even parents and community members about how we can kind of approach some of the underlying issues related to law enforcement and maybe race relations?
Well, I think when you talk about those, I think it's very difficult to talk on a broad scale about
Mhm,
law enforcement. I
mhm,
think because they're not the same. The interactions that we're talking about that are shown in the media, they're
mhm.
not the same, and so you can't
Mm,
judge them based on the same criteria, in my opinion.
mhm,
You have different officers, and
mhm,
different officers have different backgrounds, which makes them handle things differently. You have
mhm,
different victims or suspects,
mhm,
and so they handle things differently. So I don't
mhm,
think you can kind of paint that with a broad brush. I think, but my advice would be to
mhm.
purchase a great book that I wrote. It's called Rules of Engagement: Mending Citizen Police Interactions. And so
I
basically, what I did in the book was to just kind of tell people, how to interact with the police, because
mm.
they're not all the same. Knowledge is power, and
Yeah,
so the more knowledge you have, the better apt you are to handle those particular situations.
I love that, because, as a parent, there's just a lot of talk around it. And one of the things that really bothered me about just this in general is that, we lump law enforcement into one category when, as you said, every situation is different.
Correct.
So, looking from the eyes of an African American, a lot of times we talk about people lumping us in a category, but
Right.
we're doing the same thing when it comes to law enforcement. So I'm
Right.
like, what is the disconnect here? So
Hmm.
if you don't like it being done that way to you, why are we perpetuating the same cycle and doing it to another group of people? So
Right.
I love that you bring that up because it does take a dialogue and the ability to ask questions and have the courage to step away from some of the stuff that we have learned
Hmm.
or been, what do I want to say, conditioned to believe to be true,
Right.
and making a decision with the knowledge, like you said, of something that we're seeking out. So that's great that you
Absolutely.
bring that up. So
Thank you.
what now? How old is this book that you wrote?
I started writing it probably in about 2013. I probably
Mm-hmm.
published it about 2016, 17, something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's basically it's about, in essence, the rules of engagement. What you should do, what you shouldn't do. Kind of what this is what the police use to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about those laws sometimes that that police officers use to they're very general. Something
Mm-hmm.
like a disorderly conduct, how
Mm-hmm.
something can move to a disagreement to a disorderly conduct charge. So
Mm,
it kind of talks about things like that, how to keep yourself out of trouble. And then
mm.
I also talk about, interactions, what to do when you do encounter police officers, but also how to prevent those encounters.
I
Uh,
love that. Yeah, and so what it just speaks to from what it sounds like from what you're saying is that, you noticed that there was a need or a problem and you were
mhm.
part of the solution.
I try to
And
be.
so I love that, because so many of us, we can be a part of that solution if we choose to.
Absolutely.
So it takes a different type of person because, we can go around, which I feel I suffered with this victim type mentality. I was dealing with depression for 13 years and I was like, woe is me. But,
Mhm.
it's a different mindset to be on the other side where you want to empower people and help them to prevent certain things from happening to them. So, what was it that kind of triggered you to take it a step further rather than just talking to people in your community and doing your rightful duty while you're at work to take it up a step further and create a book?
To reach more people.
Mm,
Basically to reach more people.
mm,
The interactions that I had, my personal interactions on the job was people really don't know. You don't know.
mm,
I mean,
mhm.
you don't know the laws. People don't know the laws, and I mean, who would know? I mean, a Georgia. You talking about Georgia? A Georgia code book is that thick.
Mhm,
So who would expect to know those laws? But there's certain ones that you should know.
mhm,
And so procedures, criminal procedures.
mhm, mhm,
It's surprising that a lot of people say, "Well, I know my rights," but really you don't. Um,
mm,
so it's just those type things. So those conversations that made me say, there needs to be some sort of manual, because
mhm.
you know police training. We're trained to work with the public, but the public is not really trained to work with police. And
Love
so
that.
that's where the disconnect is. Uh,
Mhm,
especially if you have an officer that's not very, very good at communicating.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. So true, and I think, it's kinda like being a parent where you don't know everything.
Mhm.
I learned that, I mean, hey, I have 15 kids and still I'm like, this child, where did this child come from? Because I definitely don't know. But it's something with the title and the position that people just think, oh, you got all the answers. And a lot of times with that comes a lot of responsibility. And it's that mindset that, oh, if they expect me to know, then I should know. And then you have that pressure and
Mhm.
you don't want to really admit what you don't know. So
Exactly.
I love that you bring that up because we just assume because they have a badge or whatever that, they're all knowing. And sometimes they have been conditioned to believe that same thing themselves in their own
Right.
lives. So
Right.
I love that you bring that up. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Now, so what is it that really sparked you to really go into law, just in general?
As a kid, I grew up in Arkansas, and
Hmm.
it was the. This is going to sound silly, but it was the state police car. It was a
Mm.
Crown Victoria. It was plain white. It had a blue stripe on it, and I fell in love with that car.
Wow.
And that I can't think of anything else other than that. Why I would want to be a police officer. When I graduated from college, I taught for 5 years. So,
Wow.
it was kind of like, I'm going to change careers.
Mm.
It was that.
That's awesome. Now, and as a female, this is the thing because, you know, that's just somebody who is over the top as far as I'm concerned when it comes to being in the role of a policeman. I mean, that's the same as the military. Yeah, we say equal women and all this stuff, but it's harder. So,
It is hard.
the mindset that you had to have to persevere in spite of all these things, because I'm sure your presence was not embraced by everybody. So, talk to us about how you were able to maintain with that kind of pressure or, just that constant reminder.
Well, I think my I'm very opinionated.
Mhm.
So I think my issues weren't just because I'm a female. I
Mm.
did have some issues in the beginning when I had a training officer that felt like um, I was supposed to just sit in the car and they weren't supposed to train me. And so when I
Mm.
complained about that, it became a problem. And so eventually they allowed me to change training officers. And so the next one I had was like totally opposite of this one. So he felt like he was gonna, okay, you're gonna complain because we don't do anything. So now we're gonna do something every night. And I ate it up. I mean, it was just, that's what I wanted to do. We climbed through windows, we, chased people through backyards, and it was great. That's what I wanted to do. So I think they realized then that I wasn't typical. I really wanted
Mm.
to do the job. I wanted to not necessarily typical, but stereotypical
Mm. Yeah.
black female. And
Mhm.
so I had a good time. I learned a lot, but a lot of times people, especially men, are not very receptive of women with an opinion. And
Mm.
so, there were a couple of departments where, I wasn't able to advance as I should have. And
Mm.
education was always important to me, education and training. And so,
Mhm.
there were some supervisors that didn't feel like, I should be, going to certain trainings. So, I had some
Mm.
difficulties there. Um, but I got out of it what I wanted to get out of it. And that was
Mhm.
to help people and
I
learn as
love
much as I could. So, you
I
know,
love that. Yeah. I mean, you had to have that intention and focus,
mhm,
to accomplish what you did. I mean, and to be retired today, I mean, it's commendable.
thank
So many people, within law enforcement, they don't always have those happy endings, for um, getting killed in the line of duty and just a number of things, sometimes trauma, that
mhm.
can affect them. So I just want to say thank you so much for your service. And, what tips can you give us about mindset? Because, to be equipped to be able to be in a position of service at a beck and call. You get a phone call or, a dispatch says something and you have to switch into a different mode. So
Mhm.
talk to us about, what kind of things you had to have in your routine to keep that mindset about, being mindful of serving.
A sense of self first,
Mm. Mhm.
and a spiritual background, um,
Mhm.
and just the ability to deal with other people's issues, because that's what police officers do all day, every day, is
Mm.
pretty much deal with other people's problems. So you have to have thick skin,
Mhm.
um, and just perseverance to do your best. But you also have to remember why you're there.
Mm.
And I guess that's any type of career. You have to remember, why did I choose this profession? And when
Right.
if you lose sight of that, then you know bad things happen. So
Mhm.
um, that's what I did.
Yeah,
Stay
that's
focused.
good. Mhm. Yeah, and my thing is I'd be like, how did you balance not being paranoid? Because I don't know. I mean, just as you know what I mean? It's like people have criminal activity, they walk around you a certain way. You like, no, wait a minute, something. You know what I'm saying? My husband's that way. He was in the military, so he
Uh-huh.
was an officer. So, certain things happen. We're at a restaurant. Hey, that guy, did you see him over there? He's looking kind of shady.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm just trying to have a good meal.
right.
Okay. But so how did you balance being able to just trust people, relax when you're kind of not off duty, so to speak?
Well, I mean, you're not off duty. You're
Mm.
not off duty. You're
Mhm.
always on duty. You always have your head on a swivel. It's that when we were in the academy, they told us like you'll change, and
Mm.
I noticed the change. You
Mhm.
go into a restaurant, you want to sit in the back of the restaurant. You have to be able to see
Mhm.
all the doors. You have to know where the exits are. I mean, these are
Mhm.
things, and you watch people differently. And when I'm with my
Mhm.
friends and family, they don't get it,
Right.
but it's that constant being on the job. Even now,
Yeah.
I notice things that other people don't notice.
Mhm.
Um, you know, and some people think that that's Not good.
I'm telling you, look, you preaching to the choir because my husband's like, he has a weapon or whatever, and I'm thinking, or he's doing this. You notice he's acting kind of shaky. He's fidgeting, and I'm thinking, can we have a good meal? Okay, I don't want to hear about that, but it is like, yes, it's at a certain place so he can see what's going on. So yeah, I mean, so he's not alone.
I want to identify. I'm like him. I want to identify all the people who have a gun. So I know, what's their intention. Are they good guy or bad guy? So you don't stop. I was with my mom one day, and we were driving through my neighborhood, headed home, and I saw a guy running from a car, and so I said, that because it was late at night, that guy might have broken into that car. Like, who does that? Who just runs away like that? So, I went back down to my neighbor's house and I said, hey, listen, I saw a guy running from your car. You might want to check it out. And sure enough, somebody had broken into the car.
Wow.
So it's just little things. And my mom was like, no, he's just running. He's just running. I said, yeah, he might have been just running, but we're going to check it out. So, trust but verify.
Right. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah. That's him. Yeah. He's just so suspicious of everything. And, I think that's the nature of doing your job well, for you to be able to recognize those things.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Hope. She's been on all my interviews here lately, just waving at everybody, saying, hey.
That's how you start.
If she was familiar with Streamyard, she's like, what's Streamyard? Zoom, she knows. So when I have Zoom calls, she gives people math problems in the chat.
Okay.
But she's like, this StreamYard, I don't know what this is about. So, at least I can interview in peace for a few minutes, because she doesn't know how to work the software.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think that's really good. So, so what are some things that you do to kind of, relax? I mean, to me, that seems like that would have my blood pressure up a little bit sometimes.
Well, pre-COVID,
that's a whole nother thing, right?
Nothing like a good massage.
Yeah.
I was really into massages, hot tub, those things, relax, reading, jazz. I like jazz. So, just sit and listen to some music, and just spend nature. I like to spend time outside watching the birds and, whatnot. So those are just to get away, those things.
Yeah, I love that. So, now, so many people have a lot of knowledge during this time with this pandemic. They've been at home, they might have switched jobs, and they have a book in them. So what advice would you give them about writing? Because so many people are like, oh, I don't know. Does anybody even want to hear what I have to say? Is it really valuable? What advice would you give them about sharing their story?
I would say you don't know until you try. That, you don't know how you can help someone until you try to help them. And so, there's so many avenues now to write a book and get it out and not spend a whole lot of money. I self-published, so I didn't spend that upfront money. But my book wasn't an Amazon bestseller either. But it was because I got those books, and a lot of times I just gave them away to people I thought that they could help. And but I would say that tell your story. Everybody has one. Everyone has a story. And like I said, you never know who that story could help.
I love that.
And you could be the next bestseller. So you never know.
Never know. Never know until you get out there and do it. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, so you mentioned that you're back into teaching, and for somebody who is maybe in that space where it's like a career has ended, but they're starting something else. What advice would you give them about that? Because so many people I've talked to, they are kind of grieving a loss of how things used to be, where they were in their position and, that routine and that knowledge. And then to reinvent themselves, it's scary and just feeling like, intimidated by it. So what advice would you give them about, going through this process right now?
Well, my second transition was out of necessity because I injured myself at work. But
Uh,
what I would say is that is you got to jump in with both feet. Um,
mm,
sometimes you have to let go and let God. So
mm,
sometimes you may not be on the path that's for you. And I'll say this: I was at a job that I should have left a long time ago, and I continued to stay because I thought, you're supposed to stay and retire, and
mm,
and so I was unhappy, I was stressed, and you know once I left, things got a lot better. So
mm,
sometimes God will tell you to leave, and
mhm,
and you're like, no, 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 this is what I do. I'm happy here, and da 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 da. And then when you fail to do what He's asking you to do, sometimes He'll make a way that you have to leave. And so that's pretty much what happened. Is I had to leave, and
mhm,
so things worked out. So
mhm.
everything happens for a reason. But
I
I would
love
say
that.
listen to that voice. Yeah,
Mhm.
listen
And
to
that,
that voice.
and that would be a lot of pressure because, if you could speak to that for a minute, because a lot of people, they're in those roles. They've been on a job for, like you said, they see the end of the road. Oh, I'm going to retire from
Mhm.
here. This is what I've been taught to do this. And it's kind of like this turmoil between knowing that it may not be good for you, but then your family, oh, that's a good job, girl. What's
Yeah,
wrong with you if you
yeah,
even think about it? So, for somebody who is in that space and they're like, this is probably sounding crazy. My family doesn't understand. What advice would you give them about that?
you have to live for you. Tomorrow's not promised. So you have to live your life. You live your
Mhm,
best life.
mhm,
And so sometimes other people don't know what your best life is. Other people may not know your struggles. Other people may not know your will. Other people may not know that path that's for you.
mhm,
And so only you know that. Um, and so
mhm.
sometimes change is scary. Change is
Okay.
scary.
Mhm.
And so you just have to put that head back, put your shoulders back, and forge on.
Love
Um,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, so what is it that you teach now?
I teach, when I tell you God is something, um, I'm telling you.
You mean a sense of humor or something? Is that what
No,
you're
I mean awesome.
Okay.
I had a I was a school resource officer,
Mhm.
and so I love my school. You would
Mhm.
think I graduated from the school. I'm talking about I got one of the best cheer or something like best school spirit. Um,
Oh.
you know,
So you
and
at all the games and participating and everything.
on the sideline.
The school mascot.
The
Okay.
mascot. That's it. That's it. I come in the cafeteria in the morning screaming it's game day, you know. So
That
I,
is awesome.
I was having a ball. And
Mhm.
so then I hurt my back. And
Mm.
it just so happened the principal called me, actually it was the summer before last, and said, "Hey, listen, we got a criminal crime, what is it, law and justice position open."
Mhm.
And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Well, yeah, apply." And so I applied, and I was hired. And I think I cannot believe that I get paid to do what I do. I teach
Wow.
kids. It's a career pathway class. So I
Mhm.
teach them basically about careers under the umbrella of law, public safety, corrections, and security. So I'm talking
Mhm.
about pretty much what I know all day long,
I
and
love that.
teaching them. And it's an opportunity to teach them about interacting with law enforcement. And so,
Mm.
I utilize that class to do that as well.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, in the right area, but in the wrong position. That's profound. This
Yeah.
is at the same school where you were a school resource
Same
officer?
school. Same
Isn't
school.
that something?
What I'm
That's
telling
amazing.
you, that is amazing. It's amazing. It's
I
amazing.
mean, that is just, and so your demeanor just changed overnight from just being in the same place but a different position.
No, no, no. My demeanor did not change.
Mhm.
My demeanor
But
did not
I'm
change.
But I'm saying like the whole thing of I don't know, just having that purpose and knowing and that clarity.
Mhm.
Any
Well,
of
yeah.
that?
Well, there's some other things I want to do,
Mhm.
but right now this is a happy place.
Mhm.
It's a happy place,
That's amazing.
and the way it came about was just, I, I mean, I don't know, it was God sent, so it was great.
That's awesome. That
Yeah,
is awesome. So, I mean, this is some great content and conversation. I mean, I hope everybody is taking notes because I think it's so important to realize, one, the things that we have a lot of times, it's really being focused and remembering that, things just don't fall into our lap. It takes us going after them and having the mindset to persevere and work for the things that we want. They're not always laid out on a platter, and this has just definitely been a great, great story that you've shared with us. And just your energy is just, contagious. So I think that's really important for people to realize. And so much about knowledge, being definitely important when it comes to deciding to pursue anything and
mhm,
not taking that for granted. So
yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing your story and your transparency. So, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
Through my website. My website is myjusticeacademy.com.
Awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
So, what final words would you want to share with everybody today?
I think you summed it up. Perseverance. Go after your dreams. Like
Mhm,
I said, what is it? YOLO. You only live once. Um,
mhm.
be the best you.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing.
Thank
And
you.
I encourage the viewers that, if this interview resonated with you, to reach out to Bridget. She's very easy to talk to. And I think it's so important for us to realize that we're not an island. It's okay to get some insight from other people who are like minded and can help us on our journey. Um,
Absolutely.
if you feel a little uncomfortable about that, feel free to put your questions in the comments and we will see that we get those answered for you. So thank you again so much, Bridget. And it's so great to see you in person.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. I totally enjoyed it.
And you
Yeah.
know what? With your book, I'm going to introduce you to some people. I have some people that have bookstores virtually,
Mhm.
and that'd be a great addition to their bookstore. So I'll definitely
Okay.
link you up.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
You're welcome. Well,
Uh,
thank you all for watching, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.